Hi everyone, I'm Tara Donnelly and this is my Peeps family tree. I will start with myself and talking kind of about the process and then introduce you to my family a little bit. I was very interested in going about this. I teach history, so it kind of really suits my personality and my interest to kind of go through this. And I knew my grandmother on my mother's side knew a lot about our family tree. At her house, she actually has an old Scrabble board that she adds a name for every single person in our family that we're in touch with and that kind of thing. So it's really neat. I've always gone up there and I've looked at it and I've been fascinated by it, but I've never been able to talk to her all that much about it. So I enjoyed getting to hear all of this, and something I found very interesting, both of my grandmothers knew more about their husband's side, so my grandfathers, their families, instead of their own families. There are two sets of blank um, people for my great-great-grandparents, but other than that, I was able to find out and learn a lot of information about my family. I will start with myself over here, and I'm from Marietta, Georgia, and I've been born and raised Marietta my whole life, and I was actually the first person in my family to be born here. I am one of four children. My mother had two children, my brother and I, with my father, and then they got divorced when I was less than a year old. So other than my first Christmas with them, they were never married that I know of, from my memory. And then my mother got remarried and had my two half sisters that we're very, very close with. I went to Marietta High School, and then I attended UGA for my BSED for Social Studies education. And then I moved down to Covington, Georgia, which is where I currently teach and live. And then I came back to UGA this past summer for my MED for gifted ed, like many of you guys here. So I will start with my mom's side of the family. Something I found interesting is no one on my mom's side of the family had ever gone to college, much less graduated from college. My brother was the first one. He went to Georgia College, and then he is now through law school and is a DA up in Cherokee. But my brother and I were the first ones to attend college and actually graduate. And if we look down at my dad's side, my dad's the only other one who in my entire family has gone to college, and I never really thought about it because growing up in my family, it was never a question for us. Both my brother and I, it was, okay, so where do you want to apply? Where do you want to go? What are you going to do with your life? That was our track. It never occurred to me to even second guess that. And now that I'm looking at this family tree, I realize that my dad was definitely the one that instilled that in us, and it really was a big push from him. And I'm sure that comes from the fact that my dad owns a international company. He's in marketing research. He started it from the ground up, and it's his third company actually or second company he's owned, but third marketing research company he's worked at. And as a business owner, I think he really understood the value of going to college and how that can kind of transform our lives and the importance of education. So I never really realized that, and I thought that was kind of a cool thing to see this, I say this late in life, being 24, but at this point I never really thought about it. On my mom's side, so this top half up here, everybody in the family was actually born, raised, and stayed in what's called West Lebanon, New Hampshire. It's a very small town up there. We go back to visit quite often. My mom was the first and only one to actually leave Lebanon, New Hampshire. She moved down to Georgia the year before I was born with my dad. And my grandmother, her mother, born and raised in New Hampshire, and She is the one that I was talking about earlier that had the Scrabble board. And I called her and she goes, "Oh my goodness, did you know?" And the story started. And apparently, her cousin was a historian. So I have a family history with historians, apparently, who has traced our entire family heritage and written books and has primary documents, pictures, newspaper articles about our entire family history. And I've actually been trying to reach out to her on Facebook to get a hold of her. I saw on her Facebook some of the pictures and some of the newspaper articles, and again, being a history buff, I went into nerd mode and started freaking out and was really enjoying myself with that. But she was able to track back all the way to 1801 for the whole family. And she was able to tell me that they ended up in West Lebanon, which is actually charted over here on the side. Um, but both sides of my family come from Canada. My mother's side, they way back early 1800s. I don't remember the exact year, which I should. But they came from Canada as well. And moving down to my dad's side, I again called my grandmother because I called my dad, and my dad goes, "I don't know any of that. Call your grandmother." So I called her. She was able to track back a little ways, but not nearly as much. My dad was actually born in Canada, so he was an immigrant down here. They came to the U.S. When my dad was like 3 or 4 years old, and he actually did not become a U.S. citizen. He took the test in 1997, so I was 7 years old when my dad became a citizen. And when I was talking to my dad about that process, he told me when I was little that he used to tell me he was an alien. And one time when I believe it was first grade, he said a girl brought her dad's police badge and said, "My dad's a police officer" at show and tell. Well, me being me, I apparently took my dad's alien residency card and brought it to school and go, "Well, my dad's an alien." And my dad got a very interesting phone call from the teacher that day, wondering how his daughter had his immigration card, but it was a good story time. So my whole family there, they came from Canada. They were in Nova Scotia for the most part, and if you follow my dad's side back, they were in from Prince Edward's Island. We don't know too much about my dad's side because he was actually killed. Oswald McKay, right here. He was killed when my dad was young, when my dad was 4 or 5. He was a lineman, so he actually got electrocuted on the job, and we didn't know too much about his family, but we were able to get just a little bit there. And it looks like I'm going over my time, so I will be quiet now. But again, this is very interesting, and I look forward to seeing all of y'all's family histories and getting to know you guys a little bit more.